Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of The Magic Show. This week we're going to dive headfirst into Lorwyn's wonderful rumor season and then tackle the top 10 Cap'n Tickles ideas chosen by yours truly. Now all that's left is for you to pick a winner. This week's title segment comes on the heels of the dam breaking in regards to Lorwyn. The secrets are spilling out each and every day, so by the time you read this, there will be at least a half dozen other amazing cards to gush about. But hey, let's tackle what we can. The first thing I want to talk about today are the new mechanics in the set. There are many, but the most interesting ones have been Changeling, which means the creature or spell is all creature types, and Clash, a new keyword that triggers off a top deck duel. What does this mean to you? Firstly, it means that you're going to have to think about tribal differently. Take a look at Tarfire, for instance. This is an important spell in many ways. Firstly, it's just plain better than Shock. I know R&D says they don't like to obsolete cards, but they sure do it often enough. Anyway, you must now think of this card as not only an instant, but as a goblin. Why is this so important? Firstly, because it can trigger cards that say, quote, whenever you play a goblin, but more importantly, it shows just how damn insane the next spoiler is, Boggart Shenanigans. This card means that Tarfire is now a lightning bolt. Mog Fanatic is suddenly a shock on legs. This is a card that is just begging to be broken. And if it's not, quote, broken in the sense that you and I imagine an insane combo deck, I can assure it will be a powerful tool to any goblin wielder in the near future. Why? Because it has no activation cost. R&D said they tacked on the mana cost on Lightning Rift for fear of shenanigans. Then they printed a card that could be potentially ridiculous and actually called it Shenanigans. How ironic is that? This is the card, above all others, that has me worried. I know it's going to be a staple somewhere, but the where escapes us until we can see the rest of the set. The second most worrying card is this guy, Soulbright Flamekin. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, he really does swap 6 mana of any old color into 8 delicious red mana, which just so happens to be the exact mana cost of 1 Bogarden Hellkite. Interesting, isn't it? But also note how carefully worded this card is. Quote, if this is the third time this ability has resolved, unquote, is an interesting phrase, particularly the word resolved. That means that if the target was dead or removed from the game before it could resolve, then you don't get the mana. It doesn't count towards the number of times it had successfully resolved, and then you've effectively sunk your mana into some sort of bad magic pyramid scheme, or timeshares, or some other horrible waste of money. Moving on, Changeling is a very interesting concept. This allows the heavy reliance on creature types on all of these cards to be eased in many ways. They'll also be very valuable in draft. The Changeling Grizzly Bear by himself powers a lot more than you think. Let's take for instance the new undercosted creatures such as Jackal Pup 2.0 in Flamekin Blade Whirl. Now this guy will either be a new constructed staple or limited fodder, but let's face it, a 2-1 for a single red mana is going to get the attentions of Paskin's wannabes everywhere. But for guys like myself who always have a soft spot for White Weenie, this next one's for you. Gold Meadow Stalwart. Yes, Asamaru returns to standard. I knew they left it out of 10th for a good reason. This guy is an absolutely exemplary use of how to kick ass with tribal in the modern era. And again, Changelings power these guys and will be crucial to your limited, if not future constructed, survival. Turning an eye back to the official previews, the elf multicolor legend Nath of the Gilt Leaf looks like just another creature to make Tarmogoyf look better. And I know we were really looking for more of those. I mean, let's take a look at Doran the Explorer here. He's certainly an incredible creature, just nuts. Fantastic ability, groundbreaking even. But here's when you know the Tarmogoyf hype is too much. When everyone has to mention Goyf gets +1/+0 with this guy while noting almost as an afterthought, oh yeah, and a 5/5 for 3 mana is pretty solid too. I mean, seriously, Tarmogoyfs are quickly heading to $30 a pop, are positively ridiculous in virtually every format, and again, I wonder if WotC knew what genie was inside that 2-mana bottle. Next, let's take a look at a new incarnation. Now, we've seen Dread from the Ferret, but here comes Guile. Guile is what will be known as the preferred blue finisher. Why? Let's take a look. So it's damn near unblockable, and it makes Remand absolutely insane. Of course, we don't have Remand with us in Standard any longer, and that's a good thing. However, the ability to simply steal the spells you're trying to counter is fantastic, and in a counter war, you will always win. Removing the card from the game is a triggered ability, so unless they throw out a trick bind, that spell is yours. Up next is the red incarnation, and it's a doozy. Hostility is a house. Hostility definitely seems like a fitting name, and while the words, quote, prevent that damage on a red card are a little odd, the bonus makes up for it. The problem with this guy, and all of the incarnations, are their extremely expensive mana cost. 6 mana or triple color is almost guaranteed to never see competitive play. So this, or Guile, could be 12 12s for that matter, and still never see a tournament table. But speaking of unfair blue cards, let's take a look at the best Planeswalker, Jace Barrelin. Of course the best Planeswalker had to be blue, and the white one is so awful I'm not even going to bother listing it, which is also par for the course. Maybe that +1/+1 counter ability is going to get you there, but I doubt it. Jace, however, is in the right colors to win tournaments, and if you haven't figured out why he's awesome, take a look at Phyrexian Arena. Same converted mana cost, except Jace doesn't make you lose any life, and you can use it the turn it comes into play. Phyrexian Arena, of course, could never be incinerated or attacked, but you get the point. This guy takes what is essentially a combination of Phyrexian Arena and Mikakuro, Center of the Sea, in a single kick-ass blue card. Don't pay attention to that last ability, it's irrelevant. I mean, you know, they had to give the Timmies something. Deathrender is just friggin' cool. Look at how awesome this equipment is, and see the new face of Reanimator. I can't imagine not starting out every Reanimator deck with 4x Deathrender and 4x Merfolk Looter. The bonus is just icing on the cake. I guess I'll put my 7/7 Bogarden Hellkite into play and wipe your team. Oh, thanks for killing my Tarmogoyf. Because, you know, Tarmogoyf goes in everything, even Reanimator. Sig Riverguide is up next, and he's kind of like an 8.5 fins. He doesn't mess with spells, but he does protect your creatures. And since a lot of post-Lorwyn Standard will be ripe with creature battles, I'm sure it's solid. But I miss the ability to turn spells different colors and protect my artifacts and enchantments. I guess since those abilities were used once, they won't be back again. But maybe, someday. On Tuesday, Ferret got the most awesome Timmy card ever, Hamlet back Goliath. How freaking cool is this card? I absolutely love it. I think it's the best multiplayer card I've seen in a long time, and I think it's the purest Timmy card I've seen in a hell of a long time. Just look at that art. It's straight out of a fairy tale and with a great name to boot. Up next is, without a doubt, the most exciting common I've seen yet, Oblivion Ring. Wow, wow, wow. Can I get 3 cheers for the enchant of Vindicate? This one is really fantastic and can be used and abused in all sorts of ways. It can save your creature from mass removal, or it can remove an annoying permanent. Well, non-land anyway. I can imagine that made it through about 1 day of testing before it was changed. Regardless, Devin Lowe remarked that this was his, quote, most favorite card, and it's easy to see why. It has a world of possibility and is truly powerful. A great white card, just when white needed it the most. Lastly, I want to cover the lands in this set. Firstly, there are some really interesting charge counter lands that are debuting which look like a full cycle. Here's an example with Vivid Creek. Only the blue, black, and white ones are spoiled so far, but I'm sure this will be a full cycle. Looks neat, and I love mana fixing. There is another card that features the keyword Hideaway. This allows you to set aside a card in the removed from game zone and, if conditions are right, play that card for free. Here's an example with Mosswort Bridge. The white one is rumored to be, quote, if you control 4 or more creatures, while the blue one is rumored as, quote, if you have 20 or fewer cards in your library. In other words, they don't want blue to play a damn thing for free, like the color doesn't get enough breaks. Next week we should have a near-completed spoiler on our hands with plenty to gush about. What can I say? I'm loving Lorwyn. While Future Sight seemed to underwhelm a little bit, this new take on Tribal is absolutely thrilling. I congratulate Wizards, and specifically our favorite curmudgeon, Aaron Forsyth, for designing and developing some kick-ass stuff. We know about half of the set so far, and I'm terribly excited to see the rest of it. And, of course, play with it next week. Okay, peeps, it's down to 10. Here are the 8 ideas I chose from the forums, along with 2 of my own. If they didn't specifically specify, I made them legendary human pirates, and sometimes even when they did, deal with it. The first entry comes from the user Cricket Hunter. He has a very interesting creation that seems like a great blue-red creature, the ability to take whichever creature is targeted until end of turn. Sounds like fun to me. Greater Gargadon, anybody? Up next is Phoneless Cord with a really sneaky pirate. He's sort of like the Demir Cutpurse we all really wanted to see. Of course, that could mean this is horribly broken, but since when has that stopped invitational submissions before? Next up, Fallen Titan reminds us that good invitational cards are usually good card advantage machines. This one is all sorts of unfair. The next one comes from Oizar. Funnily enough, he actually changed his submission to be a little bit weaker, but I really like the first one. Here it is. I think there's just something really cool about this creature, and I think it flavorfully works in both colors. As for being as piratey as possible, not sure. This next one comes from Darth Queeg. I actually had the chance to speak with Darth about his original entry, and he subsequently removed the May clause and limited it to instants and sorceries. At that point, you have to ask yourself, what could they possibly be holding that would make this card broken? What draw spell or mass removal? What burn? This one seems really fun and interesting in all sorts of situations, from multiplayer to Type 4 stacks. To prove I do indeed listen to the masses, we have this submission from Sam Double L. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, contraptions are here. Get them while they're hot. And if you vote for this one, it may just send the right signals to Wizards of the Coast that contraptions have a real future in Magic. Or something. Hurricane Andrew delivered us a true Pirate Lord. This is like the Burning Tree Shaman you always wanted in blue-black, or a triad of blue-black-red. All of them aligned to deal pain, and this one even more so. He's bringing zombie pirates into play, he's giving them righteous abilities. Sounds like a good time to me. Our last user entry is from username Alex M. He gives us the following card. Now, while it doesn't reference pirates, it could easily become a human pirate and create 1/1 deckhands or shipmates or what have you. It was also his reasoning that was really affecting. He writes, quote, "There's a lot of thought behind this card. Evan Irwin by himself is just one of us, except with a slightly bigger mouth, hence the 1 extra power on him. By himself he is a mediocre card which won't have much effect on the game. But when you have two 2/1 haste tokens attacking alongside him the first turn he comes into play, he becomes a powerhouse. This is a good representation of the real thing. Evan is just a mediocre player like many of us who watch and enjoy his show. It's thanks to us that he has the place in the Invitational Tournament, and it's thanks to him that we have a way to express ourselves through the Magic Show. Without each other, the whole bond collapses. Evan is just an overcosted 2/1 haste guy without any support, and when he is killed, we are just 2 1/1 vanilla tokens who are doomed to chump block." Very well said, man. I'd like to thank everyone for submitting their ideas. I've written and rewritten this section a few times now, going over and over until I got my final 8. I felt that they all had their strengths and showed an aspect that people can vote for. We have a Pirate Lord, some solid spike cards, some fun multiplayer possibilities, and so on. But now I get a chance to share my own creations, and here they are. The first one is a little bit of Tarmogoyf and a whole lot of combo. With Dredge reanimation strategies, he's pretty nuts, and otherwise he takes work to really get going. While Tarmogoyf gives you the goods almost immediately, lands and artifacts aren't too plentiful in the early game. This is my, quote, aggressive entry for those who like to smash face. Here's my last entry. Now you've got a choice of token generators from user submissions, so I decided to go a bit further along the design route. This Cap'n is shady and contemplative and not risky by any means. This provides a new keyword in Cursed, but it's also completely self-contained. Cursed means nothing without this card and doesn't have to. So there you have it, folks, a whole host of ideas. Now it's time for you to get yourself to the forums, register if you must, and vote. This is your chance to impact the game forever. Forever in the history books will your choice be shown to the world, and I'm happy to be the one to bring it to you.
We're out looking for astronauts, looking for astronauts.
Lastly, I want to unveil a mailing list for all of you viewers out there, a way to sort of tap into the show's audience, the Magic community, and share your enthusiasm for the game. This email list is for general Magic discussion, anywhere from cube editions to PTQ deck lists to spoiler speak. I know I check email far more often than forums, and email lists are a lot of fun. So if you're interested, go to MrOrange.com/list. Sign up and say hello. Myself and hopefully plenty of you will be listening. So that's another week, folks. Thank you for watching. Until next time, Magic players, this is Evan Irwin, tapping the cards so you don't have to.